alert, we're unpacking the whole plot, twist by twist. If you're spoiler sensitive, hit pause and come back when your TBR list catches up. Cheers!
Welcome to the podcast where our reading habits are unhinged.
And so are we.
I'm Gabby.
I'm Miranda.
And this is Marginally Unwell. Today, we're exploring The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. Sure. Wiest. A book all about confronting the habits, fears, and patterns that hold us back. We'll share our favorite lessons, personal reflections, and how we're learning to climb our own mountains. One mindset shift at a time. Yeah, thoughts already?
The mountain.
So this is a little bit different.
We haven't done a self-help
I think
reflection.
we've done a nonfiction. So yeah. So we're just gonna kind of go through different points. We can talk about our own stuff as we go through it. Broken it up here. Facing the mountain. Understanding self-sabotage. The idea that you are both the obstacle and the solution.
I just gotta say, this one wasn't a long one, but
Yeah.
I definitely felt personally attacked.
Yeah, there was definitely some holding a mirror up straight to me moments that I was real irritated by, I'm not gonna lie. So I will definitely get into those as we go more in. But basically this is talking about a lot about self-sabotage and how you can stand in your own way. And as much as you can stand in your own way, you can also learn to get out of your own way. So why we sabotage ourselves. Basically, main things took away was fear of failure, fear of success, and
Association of what? I remember a significant, a part where she was like, if you associate, if you grew up, or if you hear a lot, rich people are, selfish or a negative inclination about people that are rich, you're afraid or you don't want to be selfish and whatever, so you associate being rich with the negativity around, how people perceive it.
Okay, sure, yeah, I didn't have that on here, but that too. That
Okay.
And we self-sabotage because we are trying to take comfort in the familiar. So we are engineered to try to stay in our comfort zone. That's our body's way, our brain way of trying to protect us.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
That's really helpful.
So,
but yeah, she does talk about if you, based on perception or how you grew up, if you grew up with everybody around you saying that rich people are all bad people, that kind of thing, then you're associating having money with being a bad person, and so you're naturally going to gravitate away from that because you don't want to be a bad person, and that is what has been associated with life. So you're getting in your own way by that perception.
the other part of that is recognizing your own patterns about that.
And this was one that I had a hard time with. Quick up some of my patterns, but you go ahead.
So, patterns of avoidance, procrastination, or perfectionism in your own life. So, I would say definitely for me, avoidance and procrastination. So, don't know why I do that. I haven't figured that out yet, but I definitely avoid something until it needs to be dealt with. And then once it does, then I get into gear and deal with it. But apparently it needs to be a fire before I do it.
Yeah. I'm pretty good at avoidance as well. Sometimes I just feel like I'm so overwhelmed that I don't do anything, which is a coping mechanism that I definitely do too much. But my other one is perfectionism. One specific one that she was talking about in the book was, it was really unfortunate timing for me, not gonna lie to y'all. But so it's perfectionism, and she was talking about how wanting your space to be perfectly clean before you do whatever it is you need to do there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been talking about like not redoing, but kind of like revamping, I guess, my office space and like cleaning it up and like putting my stuff up because I hadn't really done that since
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really made the space fully my own. And I kept saying that like, oh well, once I get the office good, then I will be in there and I'll be productive and do all the things that I need to do in the office because I'll want to be in there. And this was literally happening still as I was reading this book until I was so annoyed when she said that because I was like, I hate you so much right now because I was like, I'm literally actively doing that at the moment. And I tend to, yes, use the excuse of like everything needs to be perfect for me to do something, which is something that you and I talked about even just starting this podcast.
Yeah,
Was
I think we both fallen victim to that. Like, where we were okay. I won't interrupt you, but
yeah, like I'll plan and plan and plan and plan because I want everything to be perfect before I actually do the thing. That by the time I get there, then like I don't want to do it anymore because I'm burnt out on it, and it's just like my way of excusing like not doing it. And so I did really love that we recognized it whenever we were going to start the podcast because we had a whole conversation about it. And we were like, we recognize that this is something that we do. And so we were like, we're just going to full send. Like, even if we're not ready and we have had bumps in the road, especially whenever we first started, and I'm sure we'll continue to learn and grow. But it comes with kind of the thing. Yeah. It's like it's never going to be perfect out the gate.
Yeah.
You have to just start. And so
yeah,
we are trying to be better about that. And I feel like we did good with the podcast and just like moving forward, even though we didn't have everything exactly as we wanted it, like up front. So the perfectionism is definitely one that I struggle with. And it was just really annoying that specific instance was mentioned, and then I was like, my office isn't clean and nice and all the things. And I was like, wow, that's really rude, honestly.
called out. Honestly,
Yeah.
this is so painful.
Talking about this?
Yeah, well, just like, not talking about it, but just like, just realize. I'm just like talking through just like my problems.
Yeah.
Publicly, I guess.
It's not great. I agree with you there. I don't know that I think that we should put any more of these in the TBR jar. I do feel like I have read other like self-help or actualization or like whatever you want to call it. And I feel like you have to be in the mindset
100%
to really get the most out of it. Because if I'm not really accepting of it. And so I think doing it kind of on a whim is not the best time to be reading it. So I think we really struggled through this one, or at least I did for sure.
I did too.
I was like, I don't want to hear this right now, honestly.
Yeah.
Which is another coping mechanism, but still, it doesn't matter.
We're here.
But we still we did it.
We did it. So in this as well, we find out that the root of self-sabotage is emotional intelligence and unprocessed pain. So I don't really remember the emotional intelligence portion of it.
It not being able to just like feel the emotions in the moment and then be able to
move forward.
Because some people don't like to feel their feelings.
Yeah.
And so then that's why it becomes the lack of emotional intelligence and being able to like fully process that leads to unprocessed pain, and that's why our brain is telling us how to cope and stay comfortable.
Love it. So the author's point about self-sabotage is often self-protection in disguise. So I think this goes into like what you were saying, that staying in your comfort zone and being familiar, doing what you're familiar with. But then I also find it like not funny, but it's like you're in it and you're trying to get out of it, but then you're like, you get yourself back into what you know, which is of course self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
So what's also like interesting is that I feel like we both are fully aware of what we're doing, but we just Because, like, I know I do this, and I
Yeah.
know I need to get out of it, and then it's just like,
It's because it's easier to stay comfortable than to actually like
yeah.
deal with it, and that is the whole thing about it. If it was easy, everybody would be totally fine all the time.
Yeah, I
But
also find it, like, very ridiculous. Like, why can't I just get over it? Like, I feel
yeah,
irritated with myself about it.
yeah, no, I get you.
Um,
And we think that we're like protecting ourselves by not doing certain things, not like taking risks or like doing other things in life because it's like the unknown. But in reality, it's like holding us back. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's like the self protection in disguise because I forgot what she called it, but it was like essentially whenever you're like, it's like predictive thinking or something like that, where you have like all these what ifs.
I was about to say, it's like you have to figure out like all of the different kind of scenarios that could happen before you make that decision. That way you are ready for whatever scenario unfolds once you make that leap.
Yeah.
So it's essentially like you're preparing yourself to going into something that is unknown. I have been getting better about that, and a lot of that came from therapy. And it was essentially like having to trust yourself that you can get yourself out of a situation. So it's essentially like your own self confidence, and it's not like necessarily like the situation that you get into, but how you deal with the situation once you're in.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a lot better. It's like, girl, you can do it. Trust yourself.
Those are so different.
Yeah.
It's hard to know like how exactly to jump into this, so we're just kind of gonna talk through like the points of.
I feel like we've kind of like do this too. So, okay. I kind of touched into this where it says climbing begins, which is awareness of doing it, which I think we're at that stage of like we know like this is happening to ourselves. I think we're having problems with the acceptance.
Yeah. Which is also like really frustrating. Because like knowing it and then doing it is just two completely different things and it's really hard. But I mean, it's just
it is what it is. That is honestly the hardest part with anything. Like not only just this, but like acceptance.
Becoming like acceptance.
Acceptance, period, in anything is like the hardest.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know because I feel like a lot of people lack self-awareness. I don't know, so maybe that's just the hardest part for us.
Well, I think awareness kind of like I think that is easier because it can be perceived as like oblivious or what is it called? So like the ignorance is bliss. So just like not being aware because that's easier to deal with.
Yeah, I wish I didn't know sometimes that I was doing that because it's real annoying when I do it.
I think acceptance is harder because you're fully aware of it and you can't get over it, and because it's not just like this is done and it's
like I accept it. So, like now I'm a changed person. It takes a lot and a lot of like going through like unhealed wounds and old stories and survival habits.
Yeah.
That we are trying to move past and deal with. And I feel like sometimes too it's also hard to notice like what exactly is triggering.
That's what I was gonna get into next was the awareness part is like identifying those things like you were saying, like what are those triggers? Is it like a specific instances? Is it negative self-talk? Is it internal like narratives? Is it what you're actually trying to do? So identifying like what that is.
Yeah.
Obviously stuff. And then here's the part that I struggle with is accepting the responsibility without shame. Learning to see your behavior with compassion instead of criticism. I think that part was really annoying because I am very critical about myself, and I'm just like, why am I like this? Like, get over. I like to say like, get over it every time. No, essentially because it's like it's not that big of a deal, but I'm just like, what am I doing?
Yeah. the compassion instead of criticism thing, I feel like comes up for me a lot. Like, especially when people talk about like, oh, like you would never say those things to your best friend or like to somebody that you care about.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why we give like so much more compassion or grace to like others, but then for ourselves, we're like, why are you not like over this? Why are you not just like better? Why do you keep like using these?
You're so critical of yourself. Because I think also because I thought about this at some point, like obviously during this book. I know I can do better and I know I can like achieve what I need to achieve, and I'm just irritated with myself for not being able to do that. And I think of course it comes into criticism then compassion.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right.
Because I would like never say that shit to you.
Yeah.
Like ever. Because I'd be like, you're doing great. Look at you. Like you're doing the things. But for me, I'd be like, God, you suck. Like, why can't you?
There was something, I can't remember if it was a book or a movie, and there was this one scene where it was two friends, and one of the friends was like going through it, and she was like really talking negatively about herself, and she was just like spiraling. And the other friend said, "Stop saying that. She's my best friend. Stop talking about her."
Yeah.
So it was like,
I've seen that a lot. Like, go around and like, you're upsetting me because like you're talking about my best friend like that.
Yeah.
Like you're talking,
and it's like you're talking to your best friend that's talking to your best friend.
Yeah.
So just hearing this out loud made me think of that whenever you.
Yeah. And it's true though.
So maybe shifting that mindset, maybe like could be dangerous, but thinking of yourself in the third person could possibly help. Could also like, open another can of worms.
Say this to Miranda.
Pretend I'm Miranda.
Sometimes, though, I feel like it's not like an active thing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, sometimes it is. Like, I know that I'm avoiding or whatever, and I'm like doom scrolling on TikTok or whatever because I don't want to face it. Something. But sometimes I do feel like it's not as, I don't want to say it's like an unconscious thing, but just like not necessarily meaning to, and then not, so it's hard to like understand like why it is. I feel like that because I feel like too whenever she was explaining examples like oh, if you feel like you're bad with money, like you need to do this, that, whatever, and it's like I know
you know the steps to get there.
And so I just don't understand like why it is that like because I don't I feel like I don't think self-sabotage is really hard for me because I'm like I don't understand why I do it, but at the same time like I know that I'm doing it. So I had like a thought.
I know exactly what you're saying.
And then I'll get like pissed off at myself. Like, why did you do that?
Yeah,
like
you know better. There's the criticism.
The thing is I feel like, you know, she was talking about, like, it's a lot of, like, fear of success or fear of failure and stuff. Which I understand, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't feel like that's it. Because, like, why would I be afraid of succeeding? Why would I be afraid of failing? Like, I'm already, like, feel like I'm doing, like, shit, so...
I'm already failing.
So how is that, like, the fear? But obviously it has to be...
Maybe it's rooted somewhere else.
Well, because if it is like fear of success or something, like that would be change, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm like avoiding the unknown because, and I'm using that as the like excuse. I don't know. But
I think that'll take a separate session.
I'll be into the $150. Thank you.
So next in this is once you recognize your patterns and are accepting and less criticism and more compassion, you're supposed to be building new patterns to achieve your success. So turning your awareness into action, discipline, boundaries. Oh, self-trust.
You did. Being able to trust yourself.
Money was well spent. The self-trust and the boundaries, I feel like I've gotten pretty good with. The aligned action and discipline, I feel like action I'm starting to get there, and then the discipline part is where I am falling short of because I'm confusing discipline with motivation, and they're not the same.
That is true.
Because I don't know if you've read David Goggins. So he's an extreme scenario of this.
Yeah.
But he talks about like motivation doesn't get you there, discipline does.
Yeah.
Discipline's going to be there every single day, and
Yeah.
your motivation isn't. So
I feel like every talk like this talks about that, that like you're not going to be motivated. It's hard to like connect it because how am I supposed to do it if I'm not motivated to do it?
Yeah,
I'm not motivated to sit in bed.
I think I just have such a habit and mentality of you need to be motivated, you need to be motivated, and I always find like reasons to be motivated, like you were saying, perfectionism.
Yeah.
So I find I have to have all these perfect scenarios and all these backups so I can have the perfect motivation to do my action item.
Yeah.
And I need to shift from motivation to discipline.
Yeah.
And that, because I've been in the mentality of motivation, like you were saying, it doesn't connect with the discipline part.
Yeah. I also really struggle with that. I feel like, for not to get like too deep into this on this freaking podcast, but
overview,
just general, early in life, I was told a lot that I was lazy, and that is something I think about a lot. And like I was told that by adults in my life and stuff, and so I feel like whenever I can't do something, it is because of that. And logically, I know I'm so far from that. Like I'm not a lazy person at all. But for some reason, then whenever I don't do something, that's what I go back to because I'm like, well, I don't have the motivation for this because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
And so it
That's
like brings me back to the thing. And I'm with you too. Like I really need to work on the discipline versus motivation because that's what So the discipline, for sure. Boundaries, I feel like I'm actually pretty good at boundaries. Get pretty strong-willed about them, and I'm very like, once that's it, like that's it. So I don't feel like I have too much issue with that. Sometimes I do still struggle with self-trust, but I do feel like that has gotten better with like later situations in my life and stuff. I have learned that I can like do things on my own because I really struggled with that for a long time too, for other reasons. But discipline is like my biggest one that I really struggle with, for sure.
Same girl, same. Once that happens,
I think like the aligned action too. I don't know why it just came to my mind because this is not what I'm trying to like say at all. But I think being more intentional about like I've heard people say, you know, you need to ask yourself like, does this align with like my goals of this, that, or the other? Like, does this align with the person I want to be? Whatever.
Are you saying being intentional?
Well, what I was gonna say was my thing that came to mind, which that I was saying was not it, was people saying like, what would Jesus do type thing. So like not that. Like I'm not trying to that at all. But I think maybe focusing more on that and really asking myself not what would Jesus do, but like, does this align with what I'm trying to do? Like the person that I want to be. Does this like make sense for that?
I also think that I don't think it was this book. I think it was it was like, I can't remember the book, but essentially it was like dream your biggest dream, like whatever your biggest thing, and then you work your way backwards from to an achievement plan to your biggest dream.
Okay.
And then essentially it was like, get your biggest dream, what are like ways to get to that, and then from each of those ways you break it down, like what are things that I could be doing annually, monthly, daily, whatever, to get to this spot, to get to here, and then like build it up that way.
Yeah.
So I think for us, the planning, or specifically saying me, but I think both of us, it's like the planning and knowing what we want is there. but the doing.
So that's what I was gonna say though. I feel like I get too stuck in the planning, and so because I can do that all day long.
Yeah.
But I think it's the day to day of being like literally having to be like, does this action?
That's the discipline part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the part that I like can't seem to get, because I can make the plan, I can see how to do it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I know that I could, but then when it comes down to the day to day action, I'm like,
where is she?
we had a plan, girl,
Right here, lined out. Just got to do it. So.
Yeah.
So going into that, the next thing is being consistent. Consistent in our discipline, which is, vital for success. So she goes into emotional regulation and then small daily habits. So getting into the rhythm of these things.
I've gotten a little bit better about emotional regulation, which makes me feel a little crazy for saying. I still feel very regulated. However, I used to be really bad about literally holding everything in, which is, I think, a lot where I learned a lot with the boundaries part of things, because I used to just hold everything back all the time until I started like implementing that. I feel like was the biggest change, because I used to do things like I would literally not have anybody see any kind of emotion. I was like, absolutely not. Cannot be happening.
Emotional constipation.
Yeah. Where now I do feel like I am better about just like, if I'm sad, I'm just like sad. And then like move on and like, it's fine. But I used to be a lot worse about just like not actually feeling it. And then so, yeah, just seeing it.
Yeah. It comes out opportunistic time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I've been trying to do better about just letting myself feel the thing.
Yeah.
Even though it still annoys me sometimes.
Which kind of goes into like her next point. The idea of growth often feels like a loss at first, because you're like shedding your old self. So I thought this was interesting because you're like grieving your past self, and I was like, I could go without.
I think that too, but then I'm also like, but I don't know, some of the stuff I'm like, but she also like survived it, and so it does make me like kind of sad. It's just dumb, because I'm like, she's
how like
doing great.
Yeah, I feel like I feel what you're saying both ways, because I do like she's the way that she is for a reason.
Yeah,
I do feel bad for her, but she's holding me back. Okay, I have things to do. I have goals. I have things to do.
Yeah,
but it makes me think of like whenever she was talking about this part of the book, like it really made me think about how like a lot of therapists talk about writing a letter to your younger self.
Yeah,
and then healing your inner child. Yeah, and all these things. It is sad because it's like you are the way you are because of these moments that you grew up with and all these things.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody intended, hopefully nobody intended for you to have these internal thoughts and like it suffocate you in the way that you're suffering, or suffering is a harsh word, but holding you back.
Yeah.
But it's also like a lot of forgiveness for like things that people unintentionally did or intentionally did, and then also like caring for your younger self in a strange kind of way because he's not real. So I find that concept a little hard. For me personally, to like write a letter to my younger self, like what
Yeah. No. So the next section, reaching
Blankets Everest. So integrating lessons into
that it was saying like the mountain is like you already are the mountain, which is you getting in your unless you're becoming the mountain to reach its peak, I guess. Okay.
Well, not my analogy. Integrating lessons into identity. You're not fixing yourself, you're evolving.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's my problem.
Something I don't think was in this book, but that I've heard a lot through other avenues, like kind of on the same subject, is like really identifying as like whatever it is you're
Mm-hmm.
like they were talking about specifically in whatever instance. They were saying like people who are smokers and they're trying to quit, and they say like the mindset shift of being like, so you're quitting and like somebody offers you a cigarette and you say, oh, like no thanks, I'm trying to quit, versus them offering you a cigarette and you saying, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. So like fully identifying as like the thing you're wanting to become as like you are already that,
Yeah.
instead of like it's kind of saying like fixing yourself, instead of being like I'm working on this, like you already are that.
I've heard that analogy somewhere. I don't know where that's from.
I heard it during a Tony Robbins event, that one specifically, but I've heard people that maybe
I've heard it before.
yeah.
I do like that because then it's like you're claiming, you're already like, you're taking ownership.
Yeah, forward. Instead of being like I'm a smoker who's trying to quit.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot harder than just like I'm not a
Sense. Gaslighting myself.
pretty much. That's fine.
And the, you know, for my own betterment.
So how to live in alignment with your higher self through self-respect, emotional maturity, and purpose. So emotional maturity, being able to like feel your feelings and know
I think accepting your feelings too. And allowing yourself to feel that way and then moving on.
Yeah, so it's like, I think also something that she touched on in this was talking about like that every feeling is valid, but doesn't mean it's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that that was really interesting because I do feel like as a society, there's a lot of like, well, you need to validate everybody's feelings. And while it is okay for you to like feel those things, it doesn't always mean like that's where you need to like live.
Yeah.
And so being able to feel it and that's valid and then move on.
Yeah. So you gotta live in it. Yeah. You know, you have to live in it to be able to move past it. And I think avoiding it, it's not moving past it.
But some people also just like stay in it.
Yeah. I mean,
so
that's not ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Self-respect, that one's really hard because I feel like there are parts of my life that I have really good self-respect, and then there are other parts that I feel like I don't, which I think is strange because I don't feel like I would say that about somebody else. Like, I would never be like, I respect them, but only for these things, and these other things I don't respect them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's more like I respect them or I don't.
Yeah.
But for myself, I'm like, I respect this, but not that.
Yeah. I could see.
And then the other one being purpose, which I also struggle with sometimes. Or I try to make a decision on purpose based on what I think. Not necessarily like other people would want, but like not because it's something I actually want. It's just because that's what I think I should be doing. I think it's like right choice.
It's like so existential that it gets hard for me to like put a thing like a pin on it specifically. I do think that there are things in my life that give me purpose, and I want to be able to like be that person for some people, and I do like keep that in my mind of like setting an example for some things. But I also think like that's a part of me, that's not the whole me. And so then I think about if I ever go down this thought process of like that's one part of me, so then like what is like true purpose? You know?
I feel like I struggle with purpose the most in relation to my job. Like, I feel like I don't have good direction with that, and I feel like I've always just followed like whatever I needed to do. So like I needed to get a job, I got a job. And even if that didn't actually align with what I really wanted, or even sometimes what I needed, but it was like, well, it's something, so I need to like just do it. And so I really struggle.
I never really thought about it at work. I feel like I'm more structured at work. Because I know when I like having a team and then wanting the team to be fluid, and then communication, and then making sure everything. I feel like work is more structured for me, and I think like personal stuff is harder for me.
See, it's not even that, because it's not that I don't feel structured at work. It's just that I don't feel like I've ever pursued like like something that I feel like I'm meant, or something that I like really am passionate about, because it's always been more like I'm done it because I have to do.
Oh, okay. So
something.
you're saying is like career wise?
Like I have a job and not a career, because I've never had real purpose in like what I'm doing career wise.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And I feel like I really struggle with the like how to move forward, how to A, find that purpose, and then B, like how to move on that. Because obviously I have to like keep working, like I have to pay bills. Unfortunately, I can't just be like, oh, let me just pursue all my dreams right away, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like I've struggled the most with purpose in the career aspect. Not because I don't like do a good job or I don't like have purpose at work. It's just like overall career.
I see.
I feel like
That makes sense. I see what you're saying with that. I'm not gonna put that thing. I'm gonna stick with it. So what was next? Which practices or mindset shifts from the book you to actually apply long term? So obviously I said acceptance. I was struggling with that because I'm self-aware. So for me personally, acceptance, determination, and then I think were the biggest key components for myself.
so. Yeah, I think mine is definitely purpose. I think I really need to look deeper into that and figure that out, because I feel like it's going to be really hard for me to ever have discipline without having purpose. Like I can have, I mean, sure, you could like have discipline in certain things, but like I feel like for overall, I just don't feel like I have a good direction. And then I think it also was a good reminder on the perfectionism thing. And again, we are obviously aware, like we're talking about, we have that conversation starting the podcast and everything, but I still do it. I think not as frequently, but I still do it. Obviously, felt that way with the office and all that. So I don't know that I will actually apply any of these at the moment. And like we were talking about in the beginning, wasn't really in a place to be like reading this and slowly taking it in. I don't think it was a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to be like having those reminders, and even just having that knowledge sometimes, like knowing like maybe whenever I am more in a place to accept it and come back to this, because I know like it's here.
I definitely wasn't in a place to receive it. I felt very personally attacked by this. But I also think that it was eye-opening, and even though I didn't want to necessarily look all into this, I do think it was a pivotal point. Just walking into the new year, recently, even if I'm not in a place to like really dig into it, at least I say at least, but I know going into the new year, like, new year, new me, and I always like have the same kind of goals. But I think restructuring that mindset of like, instead of having this, and that, start looking into what can help me stick, be committed to be determined, and finding purpose, like you were saying, digging into that, to help with comment. Because I think once you said that, I think you're right, is finding purpose, and then that will help you be determined to reach that.
Yeah.
And then the acceptance, honestly, I'm kind of at a loss at. And it's going to take some more time and maybe some additional sessions. I don't know. See. But yeah, it was good. It was thought-provoking. It was like being called out and just, all things. But I do think it is helpful.
Yeah. The it's not like anything that we're trying to get to right now. not like this is going to be the only thing for the rest of our life. We like got over this mountain or like got out of our own way for these specific situations that we're dealing with right now. You know, we'll have other phases of life, but we'll have different, learn how to deal with that later. Having the tools, having like some of these like reminders that we know or whatever, and having that more on the forefront, especially like you said, going into the new year, everybody, whether you're actively making goals or not, you are thinking about the new year. And so I think having this kind of in the back of our mind as we're going into that, I think is
Healthy reflection.
So I do think I really want
That pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah, I do recommend reading it for anybody who is open to looking internally a little bit more. I definitely think it was a good book. I've liked many others that's similar.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I do think you.
And it was like a short,
easy.
Sometimes some of them can get like
A little too in-depth.
more in depth, and it can be a little overwhelming. And I do feel like this stayed pretty focused and short. And
yeah, it really did break it down very easily. I do agree with you. There are some where it's like they get too existential, and it's like
I need you to bring it back a little bit.
I need you to bring it back to where it's a little bit more relatable. I'm not there yet. I'm not
a little more
expert.
palatable and like taking all of this in. You know, something like we didn't really go over, but she did go into a lot of like different examples whenever she would explain like some part, and then she would be like, so for example, if you are like not good with money, or if you struggle with eating, or like whatever, and so it really gave more perspective that like you can add into. Yeah, and we didn't really like go into that because I don't remember all the examples, but they were good examples. And then once you see that, even if it's not a facet that you are like concerned about, it gives you more like perspective on like what exactly she's talking about, and you can be like, oh, okay, so like, I do that with this specific.
Yeah, you can apply it to the parts of it. Yeah. So that's a good point on her writing style. Yeah. I think you did say you would recommend this book. I would recommend it as well. Definitely as an intro for self-help, and you're like, if you're just kind of, I do think you need to be open to it. And I definitely think, like Gabby was saying, that it is a book that we would reread whenever we're more to changing perception. She wrote it very easily, like you were saying, very palatable. That way you can apply it to yourself. The story engagement, I felt very engaged the whole time because it was just one fallout after another. I was like, wow, another one. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely things that you think about the engagement.
Me too. I didn't, like I said, I mean, I don't feel like there was like a lot of filler in it or anything like that. And so I feel like it was pretty to the point, and that it kept me engaged. It was not long at all. And so I feel like you gotta work kind of hard to not be engaged in something that short. Like,
I felt like it was very direct to the point, but also like not,
and to your point too, like, it's a good starting off point because this like touches on all those things, and then you could go in deeper with like other books.
Yeah.
And so the engagement was good.
Overall ratings,
I think I gave it a 30.
Mm-hmm.
That made me a little unfair. Again, I wasn't ready for it. Not ready for it, because I do feel like I am a pretty open person about like this type of reading or this type of stuff, but I just maybe not as invested as some of the others I've read, and I think that is just because of where I am currently, not because of the book. So that may be a little bit of an unfair rating, but that's where I was. I feel like it was a solid book. It did what it essentially said it was going to do. Right?
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5. I thought it was solid. I thought it was to the point. It was direct without being aggressive. And I also think that this is very much a beginner And I think because a lot of some of the takeaways, I felt like I took less takeaways than if I were to start my journey. I would have taken more out of it. So I mean, I did get some things out of it. I do think it is a self situation. I thought it was
That's that. My first nonfiction.
First nonfiction. Don't expect any more of these. But
Probably at least not the self-help.
yeah.
I think maybe that was not
Honestly, I think I threw this in here because, I hate to say this, but it was another one of our book club ones that was a runner-up. Because last year, yeah, we did Atomic Habits, and then this one was one of the submissions, and I was looking more forward to this one.
But I feel like because we were in that mindset of like because we read it January of this year.
Yeah.
And so we were in that like New Year mindset, like trying to like prepare all of that type of thing. And so I think it would have made more sense. I just don't think that we were necessarily like thinking about it as like, oh, we're just gonna
we were not
casually like throw this in amongst everything else. And
between the fantasy and murder mystery,
I feel like doing other nonfiction, like maybe biographies or something, would be fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like something like this, where you have to be like, you have to invest in it in order to really take the most from it. And not saying that we weren't open, but you have to be like fully ready to receive that to be able to like take them. Again, I think we still had takeaways. I think it was good experience, but I think we could have gotten more out of it had we read it at a time when we were like, we want to read this.
100%. It is what it is.
But that's that. So that's it.
Yes. So, where are we? Oh, next week. Okay. On to the next. So next week is our 4th week. So we're going to be going over our bonus episode, our bookish topic, the 2025 reading recap. So come back next Sunday where we look back at every book that made this year one to remember.
We're getting into it. The good, the bad, what we've read, goals, all the things.
Yes.
So if you're interested in that and what's coming next for us,
yes, join us.